Well, howdy there. I'm here in Toronto doing my quarantine with my roommate Neil. We just got back from Mexico, so we have to stay in our apartment for 2 weeks. It's pretty annoying being back in Canada because we had a bunch of freedom in Mexico. And now I'm here and I'm hearing about all these lockdowns, all this nonsense here. And the thing is, I think Doug Ford here isn't really looking at the statistics and he wants to just lock down. So as soon as the cases rise up, we're locking down. Today I was hoping to actually provide some of those statistics for people who don't know. Yeah, pretty much no one's really actually explaining anything. Like, hey, we're going into lockdown again. That's what I keep hearing. We're going into lockdown again. And the thing about going into lockdown was doing it the first time was fine because we were dealing with this unprecedented virus that no one had ever seen before. No one knew what it was. No one knew how deadly it was going to be. So it made sense to go into lockdown because that was the only thing we knew at the time. That's what China did. They seem to have overcame it. So in that sense, we decided, okay, let's just do this. We don't have any other options right now. Let us lock down. I was fully on board with that. I was fully on board and okay with these lockdowns. The thing is, now we're doing it again. We're in the midst of our second wave of coronavirus. We're in the second wave here. Now, you'd think after a year of this, we would have a solution. We would have something a little bit more nuanced, some sort of plan in place that doesn't involve just shutting down the entire economy. But here we are. But we got some statistics here. We have some numbers. We got the numbers from the government of Canada. And today I want to share with you some of these numbers just so you can understand a little bit about how big of an overreaction this lockdown is, how little sense this lockdown makes, and hopefully this message gets in the hands of Doug Ford or Justin Trudeau or someone who can explain why in the we are still doing lockdowns. It's December 2020. We have enough info to realize that lockdowns are stupid. These are statistics from Ontario.ca website, so I'm assuming they're credible, but this is what we're going to go off of. So essentially, what we're looking at here, in terms of numbers, total confirmed cases in all of Canada, we have 148,967. Okay? The total deaths out of those total cases is 4,058. Okay? You got me here, right? Out of those total cases, there are 9,538 cases from long-term care homes and 2,526 deaths from those long-term care homes. So if we take away the cases, the positive cases from the total cases, we are left with 139,429, and then we're also left with 1,532 deaths outside of that. So doing the calculations, if you are not in a long-term care home and you catch coronavirus, you have a 0.010% chance of dying. It's a joke. You have a 99% chance that you're going to live if you are not in a long-term care home. Statistically speaking, these are numbers provided by the government. In Canada, these are the numbers that we got. So the question is, why? When we initially had this lockdown, it made sense because we didn't understand this. The lockdown is supposed to be a last case scenario. This is something you do not want to take away everyone's freedoms. You don't want to take away people's livelihoods, their autonomy. You don't want to take away their dignity, pretty much, But you take that away from them. And at the start, okay, it makes sense. But now if you're not in a long-term care home, you have a 99% chance of survival. So it doesn't really make any sense that we had this first solution, and then all this time later, we're going back to the first solution. Like, we didn't evolve at all, So there's a cognitive bias called the status quo fallacy, which is essentially we do something that we've always done because we've always done it, essentially. Regardless of what kind of new information comes out, we're going to just keep doing this because it's what we've always done. But the scary thing is we've done it once. Now we're doing it a second time. Now, how often is this going to be the first plan of attack? If anything goes wrong, we're just locking everything down, closing everything up. How is anyone supposed to get any type of confidence in the economy, any type of security at all? Because they're being put out of work through no fault of their own. The government is taking away their jobs. The government is taking away their ability to support the economy. The government's taking away all the shit. And why is it? What's the excuse? Now, I'm not saying that this is a big conspiracy to bring in the Great Reset, blah, blah, blah. I don't know enough about that. My theory is the squeaky wheel gets the grease. We have here COVID-19, okay? This is a big problem in the world, and everyone insulted America for how they handled it. Pretty much the United States of America was the laughingstock of the whole world. And I feel that got put into like the subconscious of the people in government making decisions, and they're like, we don't want to get made fun of. We don't want to make a misstep and get shit on, right? So we're going to pay out all this money. We're going to give it all this CERB, going to give loans to people, whatever we can do to support them. But we're not going to actually take a look at the numbers, because if we take a look at the numbers and then we open everything up, and because that's the sensible thing to do, people are still going to say, you are prioritizing money over people's lives, you know? And I feel it's just weak decision-making ability. You're literally just defaulting to lockdowns because it's an easy way. You're like, all right, like, yeah, we're gonna have to pay out money, but at least we're sacrificing the economy for the good of the people. There's all these silent consequences to the fact that you're doing lockdown. Number one, poverty skyrocketing. People are not going to be able to get out of debt. This country is not going to be able to get out of debt. That's just the start of it. On top of this big financial hit that everyone is taking, then there's the mental health issues. The suicides are going up. People are more anxious than ever. We're also kind of making everyone afraid of each other. So like if someone gets too close in the grocery store, it's like, what are you doing? What are you? Get the fuck away from me. Get the fuck away from me. You know, like, get out of here. This is something that we're doing now. It's like, oh, like, look at this, you know, like publicly shaming people who don't want to wear their masks. We're kind of turning everyone against each other. And we're doing it in the name of like safety and protecting ourselves and protecting this country. But to be honest, we're making the world a whole lot less neighborly by doing this. There's all these intense consequences of the lockdown. But the thing is, we're taking the easy way out because we can always just say, look, we did what we could given the information that we had, okay? That was true during the first lockdown. Now we aren't doing the best we can with the information that we have. We have more information. The information shows that if you are not in a long-term care home, pretty much you are good to go. You're just playing not to lose. You're just biding time until the vaccine comes. And then even still, the vaccine's not going to be finished and all this done and dusted for another 6 months yet, till June. And this is something that our boy Doug Ford here, Doug Ford is not really taking these into account. Like, I'm not actually that opposed to Doug Ford. Like, I actually like him as a person. I'm probably one of the 5 people on earth who have actually read this book, Ford Nation. In this book, he talks about how pretty much him and his brother and his father, they were all for the people. And that was the most important part about them, was they listened to people, right? This book, as far as political books go, it's not the best, but it's not the worst book I've ever read. You know, as far as books go, it's okay. If you look at Doug Ford's Instagram posts now, there's literally no one supporting him. At the start of this pandemic, everyone was all on board with Doug Ford. Everyone was like, Doug Ford, you're killing it. You're doing it good. You're doing everything right. Everything that you need to do, you're doing it right. Now that is not the case. Now that is pretty crazy. But it's like pretty much the opposite. Doug Ford actually has a post that says, give the gift of local. And he's like, you should support our small local businesses. What do you think the comments look like on there? So the general public at this point understands what is going on, and it's honestly pathetic that we're still doing lockdowns. And the main issue that I have with it is why? Answer me that. Why are we doing lockdowns when, I mean, if you look at what goes on in long-term care homes, which is the people that we're supposed to be supporting, if we're in the green and the yellow zone, we're actually allowed to go visit grandma or grandpa, provided we pass a temperature check. And if they ask us if we have symptoms, we say no. That is all that it takes to get into a long-term care home in the green and the yellow zones, okay? This is something where, yeah, we're going into these red zones, we're going into the orange zones, but we're doing that, closing everything down. Why? So we don't kill any old people. And yet at the same time, you're allowing visitors into these old folks centers, you know, and like all they have to do to prove they don't have COVID is say they don't have symptoms. Can't this be passed by asymptomatic people? So this is dumb as shit. You know, this is so stupid. Like, this is a joke. And it seems like a joke when you look at actually the numbers here of like how fatal this is. But you're not actually addressing why is it that after a year, when we've known about a second wave, you aren't any more prepared. And all we're doing now is we're just locking down. We're doing the exact same shit again, when the reason we were spending 2 weeks so that we didn't run out of ventilators. Was that not the problem? It looks here, In the entirety of Canada, we have 172 people using a ventilator because of COVID-19. That is it, you know? And this CTV news article here says that from August, Canada ordered 40,000 new ventilators. I'm sure we've got a couple of them, you know? We're probably not running out of ventilators at this point if we've ordered 40,000 of them and only 172 are in use due to COVID. And another thing, I would like to know, what is the age of those people on those ventilators? Are they old? I'm guessing they're pretty old. Again, why are we not just protecting the old folks? Why are we not protecting those people in long-term care facilities? Okay, these are some reasonable questions. These are some questions that I think should be answered, and I don't think I'm being unreasonable. I'm not actually spreading any type of conspiracy, misinformation. These are all numbers brought to you by the government of Canada. So this is something, I think the people deserve an answer. My greatest fear is that we are going to keep doing them. And anytime something goes down, because you aren't explaining why we're in this. Like, if you can, maybe I'm missing something here. Maybe there's something here that I'm not answering. But if you can't answer why it is that we're in lockdown, outside of we have to protect those at risk, and your whole answer is just to put a blanket sweep on everything, then you should honestly probably resign if you can't answer that question. No one's been able to answer it for me. I think the lack of communication and the lack of transparency is really making people not trust the government. Yeah, at this point, people are fed up and people are opening their eyes. And if you look at your Instagram comments, Doug, and you stop just posting ridiculous, tone-deaf things of you like eating ice cream at small business, if you actually just read the comments, you'll notice that everyone is against you at this point. People want this country to thrive. People want this country to open up. We can take care of old folks without having to make people under the age of 60 suffer. You know, there's a lot of people under the age of 60, and there is no statistical amount of them dying from COVID-19. We can protect those at risk, and we can have a thriving economy. So, yeah, my question for you is, how is it that you're justifying these lockdowns? I don't think you can, but the most alarming thing is that no one has even tried. And the default is just to jump straight to lockdowns. And I'm worried that for everything, we have a bad flu season, we're going to go into lockdown. Oh, there's fires in Australia, let's go into lockdown just in case. The thing is, if we jump into lockdowns and you're trying to protect all the people, I'm an adult. Like, most people I know are adults. Like, we're autonomous beings. You shouldn't be able to tell us what we can and can't do. If I want to take risks, that's up to me. That is my prerogative if I choose to take that risk. That is not the government's job to prevent me from taking a risk, okay? There's a million preventable deaths every single year around the world. There was over 30,000 people last year died in the United States alone from car accidents, okay? How preventable are car accidents? Pretty preventable. Are you gonna pull all the cars off the road? No, you're not. Why are we doing a blanket sweep of, hey, we're gonna go into a lockdown? It makes no sense. Why don't we just protect the people who need protecting, provide options for people who live with older people or at-risk people, and from then on, just open up. Let us take the risks that we want to take. And for the love of God, explain what the thought process is on just jumping straight to lockdowns. And is this going to be what we're doing from now on? Our boy Doug Ford, I think he needs to be able to explain this, and I hope it gets to him. So please share this, and hopefully we can actually get some answers for justifying why are we in a lockdown? Why is it that after 9 months of knowing that there was going to be a second wave, we are still so unprepared that we need to do the exact same measure? Let's not forget, was unprecedented, unheard of, and it was something they're like, we don't want to do this, but we have to because we don't have any other choices. Now we have choices, and we're still doing these same kind of evil, draconian measures, and it's getting pretty bad out there. So yeah, I would like to know why, and I hope this gets to you, Doug. Take care.